Hi folks, and welcome back to Broadside Gaming with me, Zug. We're carrying on with Veteran Week, and today we're taking a look at a build that I just find hilarious. So let's jump in and take a look at what we're using. So first of all, we're using the Dueling Sword. And I mean, I think people know on this channel so far, I'm not a massive fan of the Dueling Sword. I just find it a bit... but it is a good weapon. It is literally one of the best melee weapons of the game. I just personally don't like it very much, but it does work very well with this build. So let's take a look, and let's make sure I'm actually using the right sword, because it's been a very long time since I've actually checked the mark on this. Shut up, Stephanie. Yes, we're using the right sword. Good. Because the professional I am, I check all this before I start recording. So, what sword are we using? We are using the Mark IV Dueling Sword. And why are we using the Mark IV? Because it's very, very stabby. And that is what we want. We want something that is very, very, very stabby. And there you go. That's what it does. It's good for poking. So, what modifiers are we using? Well, we are using damage, finesse, cleave damage, and penetration. Lol. Again, mobility is a dump stat because I don't like mobility. I don't care. Lots of people are going to complain that mobility is dumped out. I don't care. I don't like it. Perk-wise, we're going with Flak Armor, because Flak is the most prevalent armor type in the game, and Maniac to help us deal with all those Maniac targets, which are mostly Ragers. But a few of the specials are also classed as Maniacs, so it's going to help us give them a good jab in the face. As you can see, it's on Damnation, and this thing basically one-shots them if you can aim properly. It does take a little bit of practice, but once you've got it down, very easy. Blessing-wise, we're going with Thrust, up to 20% strength based on the charge time of your heavy attack, stacking 3 times, which basically means hold your attack a little bit longer. And you can see down in the buff bar, you'll see it stack up. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Thrust just pairs up really nicely with this weapon. And then next we're going with Uncanny Strikes, which gives us plus 24% rending on enemy weak spot hit for 3.5 seconds, stacking 5 times. Basically, headshots, mostly, are weak spots, so lots and lots of headshots. But you can also get Uncanny Strikes to stack up with just light attacks. So don't feel like you can only heavy attack. Heavy attack is just a very good way of using the sword. So this thing is an absolute beast. I just find it a bit boring to use, but it does work very, very well with this build. Next up, we have our ranged weapon, which is the Recon Lasgun. For our modifiers, we're going with damage, ammo, stability, and collateral, with mobility as our dump. Again, see above why mobility is the dump. And for perks, we're going with flak armored enemies, because flak armor is the most prevalent armor type in the game, and critical strike chance, because this thing works off of crits quite well. Blessings-wise, we're going for Dum Dum, plus 6% close range damage and repeated hits, stacking 5 times, and Infernus, plus 4%, plus a 4 burn stack, on critical hit to a maximum of 12 stacks. Now, Infernus works kind of like Bleed, though not quite as well. Whereas it doesn't suffer from diminishing returns as badly as everything else does. Bleed doesn't suffer almost at all, from what I remember, from diminishing returns, which makes Bleed very, very powerful. But Infernus does work kind of the same by putting burning stacks on the target. So what you generally do, I mean, you can even do this to Crushers, but I'll show you on a Reaper. You tag the target you want to kill, and you shoot it in the face. The weapon works so well, you can just mag dump Crushers down with little to no problem. This thing is an absolute hosepipe. And if things do go wrong, the Infernus stacks will kill it, or you can follow it up with a nice jab from the Dueling Sword. Now, this gun is nowhere near as powerful as the plasma gun or the bolter. It is just fun to use and works at pretty much any difficulty. It may struggle a little bit in, say, 30 plus, 35 plus in Havoc, but the majority of people aren't playing that level of Havoc. This is a fun build that I like to use. Now, for the Curios, they're pretty much the exact same as the last build. Actually, they're not, because they are wrong. 1 second. Again, I'm a professional, that's why I make sure all this is correct before we go live. There we go, now it's correct. We're using twinned Curios here with 17% toughness, 5% toughness increase, 30% toughness regeneration speed, and damage resistance to gunners. Gunners are incredibly annoying and they can strip your toughness off of you quicker than you can blink. But we are only using 2 at the moment. If you were to use 3, which you can do by stripping off the stamina regeneration on this one, it does not give you 60% damage resistance to gunners, it will give you round about 43 because of the huge diminishing returns. But still, 43% damage reduction is a lot better than none. With 2, I think it works out to something like 32% damage resistance instead of the 40 it shows you're getting. It would be nice if they were a little bit clearer with, diminishing returns and give us a way to actually look at that. But we are using toughness regeneration speed, and again, this will not help you if you're lone wolfing because it only really affects you while you're in coherency. But while you are in coherency, your toughness should regenerate almost instantly. Not quite instantly, but ridiculously quickly. And then the final Curio is a max health Curio with toughness regeneration speed, and stamina regeneration. We're going with this because I do like to have a small amount of health as opposed to nothing but toughness. This will help us if we get ourselves into a situation where we've messed up and our toughness has been stripped off of us and we don't have voice of command to be able to save us. This small amount of health is going to basically be our cushion, because we should be able to get back towards the team in enough time for our toughness to then kick in and start regenerating very, very quickly again. I would never ever suggest ever taking a wound Curio as a veteran. Wounds are a forced economy, and if you are running lots of them, someone's told you a fib. They're not good. They don't teach you how to play. They literally are just there to say they're there every time you smear yourself against the floor. So in general, you want to avoid that as much as possible. But accidents happen, even the best players go down. We do only have 2 wounds in most games, especially if we're playing Damnation Plus. If you've taken a wound, your main goal is to either find a health stim or a med center to get that wound back. Always try and carry a med stim on you at all times. As for the stamina regeneration, I take that just to help us getting out of sticky situations and to allow our stamina to start regenerating quicker. We don't care about the regeneration speed once it's started. It is all about making it start quicker. Okay? So that's why we're taking the 1 stamina regeneration. If you don't want to, obviously, you can take more damage resistance to gunners or damage resistance to snipers. All are quite good affixes on the Curio. So that's the gear. Let's take a look at the talents. So first off, we'll start over here on the left with Longshot. Deal up to 20% base range damage. Bonus is reduced the nearer you are to the target, so be far away, do more damage. And then we're taking Exhilarating Takedown, replenish 15% toughness and gain 10% toughness damage reduction for 8 seconds on ranged weak spot kill, stacking 3 times. With this build, Longshot is slightly more difficult to keep up because we are actually rewarded through Dum Dum on our gun to be closer and repeated hitting. But what we do want is to get to Exhilarating Takedown, and also this does help when you're trying to make those longer shots to kill gunners, bombers, snipers, etc. So it's not completely useless, it's just not active at all times. Now let's take a look in the middle. We're going to be taking Close Order Drill, up to 33% damage, toughness damage reduction, the more allows incoherency. Again, stay in coherency. And then Confirmed Kill, replenish 10% toughness on elite or specialist enemy kill, and a further 20% toughness over 10 seconds. And then we're going to be taking Stamina Boost into Toughness Damage. Toughness Boost, god damn it, I keep saying damage. I've addled my brain. Then we're taking the Crack Grenade. I would say this is far more useful in this build than it is in, say, other builds, because, again, without the bolt gun or the plasma gun, the crack grenade is going to be your surefire way of dealing with very large targets at range. As you can see, it magnetizes itself to enemies. So we'll aim just slightly off. And it's a guaranteed way of killing armor. It's also an incredibly good way of downing monstrosities. You throw all of your grenades onto it and watch it pop while you hose it down with your gun. Again, if you do not like the crack grenade, you can take Shredder Frag Grenade, but I will warn you in this build, we do not have a lot of points to spare. So you may have to fiddle around and figure out how to do that. As I said before, bleed is incredibly good, and the Shredder Frag Grenade does give you a pseudo stun if you need it. So you can drop it, it will stagger and stun everything around it for a microsecond to allow you to either make space for yourself or try and get a team member up. So I'm not saying it's a terrible grenade. I prefer the crack grenade, but as I said, the Shredder is a very good way to go if that's your jam. But you will need to find an extra point to put into here. So from the crack grenade, we're going down to the health boost, and then Grenade Tinkerer. Improves your chosen grenade. Crack grenade does 50% more damage. Frag grenade does plus 25% damage. It has a bigger radius. Again, helps with the stun. And smoke grenade is just annoying as hell. Then we're going into Fire Team, which gives us 5% damage for unit allies in coherency. Into toughness damage reduction. And then into demolition stockpile, which replenishes one grenade every 60 seconds, which should keep you out of the rat race trying to find grenades when, let's face it, all these zealots are out there doing it. And then we're going to be picking up Voice of Command, replenish your toughness, and stagger all enemies within 9 meters. Base cooldown is 30 seconds. And then we're taking Duty and Honor. Voice of Command now also provides unit allies incoherency with plus 50 toughness. For 15 seconds, this can exceed your maximum toughness. So it gives you somewhat of an overshield toughness for a little while. And then suppression boost dealt. We hate this, but we need it anyway. And then into range damage boost, picking up precision strikes, into fully loaded, and then into superiority complex. Now, you can do this. This gun is such an ammo hog, I would actually suggest taking the point out of focused fire, which will lose you a small amount of damage, to put into Shock Trooper. Because you're going to use a lot of ammo. And while over the course of a match, yes, your damage will be down. Not hugely down, but it will be down a little bit. Around about between 9 to 12%, depending on how taggy you are. But this will help enormously with your ability to conserve and shoot. Because, I mean, your damage is going to be down if you have no bullets. So, and that's just me smashing everything on my desk. So, I would highly suggest doing that. So, that's that part done. Let's go over to the right-hand side, which we don't usually go into. But with this, it's very important that we do. So, we've got a melee damage boost, which we don't care about. Into Duck and Dive, plus 30% stamina on avoiding range attacks by dodging, sprinting, or sliding. Again, sprint, slide, just pretend it's Warframe. And just avoid things. Obviously, I can't trigger it in here because I'm not running the mod at the moment that makes the arena allow monsters to attack me. But again, it's not a game changer, this ability. It's what we're trying to get to that is. Stamina Regeneration Boost. This is also what stamina on the Curios does. It reduces the delay. So this is basically like having stamina regeneration on another Curio. And then into Onslaught, the ability we're actually trying to get to down here. Continuous hits to a single target apply 2.5% brittleness for 5 seconds to the target, stacking 16 times. Now, brittleness is just a rending that you apply to a target. Your entire team then benefits from that, whereas rending is applied to you and your damage. Whereas, as I said, brittleness you apply to a target. So this is giving us 40% brittleness on a target. This is absolutely huge, especially when you factor in just how fast this thing can hit a target. And it gives us the ability to hose down crushers. So after a few hits, the crusher basically has 40% less armor. And that's not factoring in any brittleness or rending other players have. And that is why this is such a huge challenge. It makes this build what it is. So next up, we're going down into the middle. We're going to be taking, for the Emperor, your allies, your combat ability, god damn it, can't read today. Your combat ability gives you and your allies incoherency, plus 10% melee base damage and 10% range base damage for 5 seconds. So that's every time you use this, which you'll be using quite a lot. Tactical awareness, combat ability cooldown reduced by 6 seconds on specialist enemy kill. This then triggers this, that triggers this. And then we'll be taking Iron Will, plus 50% reduced toughness damage if above 75%. Again, all of these abilities are now connected because all of them are working off of each other. And then down into toughness boost, and then we're taking Bring It Down for 20% damage to Ogryns and monstrosities. And last but not least, Focus Target. Gain Focus Target every 2 seconds, stacking 5 times. Tagging an enemy applies the Focus Target to them, causing them to take 4% additional damage for each stack and reset your Focus Target to 1. So anything you tag with 5 stacks on is taking 20% extra damage. It's not super amazing without the extra bits down here, but everything else is kind of earmarked for we need it. I mean, if you really wanted to, you could dump out Exhilarating Takedown and Long Shot for maybe 2 of these. But again, you're losing quite a bit of utility and damage in doing that. And honestly, these really aren't going to make or break you. But there you go, folks. Not something I would say is that it's a 100% definite sure thing of clearing Havoc 40. But it's an incredibly fun build. It works perfectly well in Damnation, Auric, and Maelstrom. It's just a very fun build that I always go back to. So I hope you enjoy it. And if you do, please do like, subscribe, ring that bell for notifications. It really does help us out. And I shall see you all for the next one. So until then, take it easy, and I'll see you later.